We're going to talk about networking first, and then how we found the property, and making the deal, and then Steve's going to tell you about all the, because I don't know how to do any of this stuff. Steve's the expert. He can do just about anything to a house that you can want done. The main reason I want to talk to you about networking is because that's the whole reason we have the group. And not enough people put the time to be in the group to get to be known. My story is I started with the group back in 2015, and after about 4 or 5 months, it was just like 5 or 6 people, and we'd get up to 7 people, and then people would quit coming, and we were just meeting and basically just shooting the gab with each other. And so after Bigger Pockets, they used to tell at the end of Bigger Pockets, what would you do differently? And almost everybody would say, I'd meet more people if I had to start over. And so that's why I started with the group, is to meet people. And I promised myself I'd come for a whole year. And so I came for the year, and about the 4th month I said, hey, why don't you let me get a presenter and we can have somebody, telling something. And they said, oh yeah, that's great. And so I did that for a year or so, and just kind of, oh, well, why don't you need this? You want me to do this for you? And, I just kept doing that. And then it really was I do landscape maintenance. I'm usually out having fun in people's yards and stuff. This day I was actually in the office, and an email come by. I only do emails once a day, first thing in the morning. I don't do email. It came while I was in the office. I actually looked at the email, and it was the meetup page saying that Johanny, that actually had the meetup page, resigned, and he wasn't going to do it anymore. Did I want to do it? And the year before, I was wondering if that ever happened. I wondered how much it cost. And I thought it cost like $600 a year to do. And that whole year I was kind of thinking, well, would I do that? Well, I looked up real quick, and it was like, I don't know, $100 every 6 months. I said, oh yeah, I'll do that. So I clicked on it. And so by just starting off doing nothing, just volunteering and just kind of working up, and since I've taken over the meetup page, we created the YouTube thing where we keep the things. We were recording audio before, and then when we got the YouTube page, we started doing the video. And so that was my story. Somebody asked me about the PPP loan. I can't tell you all the benefits I get because it's hard to quantify. But just this year, Justin Smith, there's 2 people I tell y'all to be by. Steve and Justin in Odessa. Justin has the ponytail down here. So if see a guy with a ponytail, that's Justin Smith. Either one of them, if they're sitting at the table, just go sit and listen to them. They just got a lot of great information, a lot of knowledge. You can ask them all sorts of questions. Both of them are really great guys. They want to help everybody, and they're full of knowledge. So Justin calls me up like on a Friday or Saturday and said, hey, Lee, did you get that PPP loan? Did you apply? And I said, no, I didn't think I was able to. And come on in. And so he said, no, I think you can qualify. So Monday morning I stayed in the office. Come on in. And I looked it up again, and sure enough, I qualified. And because Steve thought of me, I made $8,000. That's what networking will do. The second one is Brandon Turner. Pull your mask down, let everybody see you. This is Robin Donnelly. He keeps trying. I have a hard time with faces. And when I first met him, he had no beard. Yeah. And every time I see him, he's got more of a beard. And I don't know who he is when he comes in, but then he speaks and I can hear his voice and I know who it is. So even though he's trying to sneak in on me, I know who he is. So I'm going to call him Brandon Turner because his beard is going to look like Brandon Turner eventually. Robin started with the group in February. Through networking, he met Julie, which is a realtor. His wife wanted out of the 700 square foot, if I don't get the details right, this is Texas. This is Texas story, so don't.
Gotcha.
So she said he could do anything he wanted with real estate as long as he got her out of that apartment. So a duplex came open. It's a their half of the duplex, they were paying $1,100 a month for the apartment, 1 bedroom. Was it plus utilities?
Yeah.
Plus utilities. And then they bought the duplex and closed on it in October 31st. So from February to October 31st, they bought their first rental property. Now they live in 1,600 square feet instead of 700, 3 bedroom, and total expenses, $400 a month?
It's a little bit more. I had to drop rents, but it's
Okay.
7, 8.
But still, you more than double your space, and you go down in your expenses quite a bit, and eventually they'll buy another place, move out of that, and then that will be a fully operable thing, maybe $1,000, $1,200 a month.
Mm-hmm.
That's what networking's done for him. His goal now, or his story now, has evolved that there were 2 people that I thought of, because Steve, he does so much of this that I thought, well, somebody could work with Steve, and the guy that's been working with him is kind of going more on his own because he's learned so much with Steve. And I thought, well, this would be a good opportunity for somebody that wanted to do it. There was another guy, and Robin I thought of. I really wanted the other guy because there's another goal, personal goal that I have, and he would meet that. But they're both just alike. I mean, just, you can tell that they're full of energy, they're honest as can be, and they'll get the job done. But the other guy doesn't come to meetings, and he's kind of here and there. And so I just figured he has other goals. And I don't try to push people into what I want. I try to find what's good for them, and then operate. So Steve and Robin are going to start working together, and he's going to be learning how to do all this with me. I'm only going to learn on this one deal, because Steve, I've always wanted to work with Steve, but it just never has come, and then this house came open, and so we're going to work together on this one. Michelle, the third person for networking, Michelle, she is the one that does the Facebook page. I don't do Facebook. So by her, all she just said is, hey Lee, nobody ever does anything with this Facebook page. Why don't you let me get on it? And she's on it all the time. So I said, hey, that'd be great. So she does the Facebook page. So just working with each other, you know, we can all benefit. There's different ways that you'll never be able to tell people how knowing other people benefits them. I try to get everybody's name and numbers so that like he's in Fortune Builders, I'm in Fortune Builders. There's probably a dozen or more people in Fortune Builders, and so I put in my phone FB. So if I meet another one, I can bring up all the other ones and let them know all the people that are in Fortune Builders in the group. There's a Kiyosaki group that's inside our group, and I try to connect them together. If you want to do wholesaling, I try to connect you to other wholesalers. Although that's a hard cookie to crack because other wholesalers don't really want to talk. How we found this property, I drive up and down the alley a couple times a month. I've got several customers on the block, and I do landscape maintenance. And I noticed that the car was always sitting there. It was a Cadillac, red Cadillac. The door was kind of walkie jarred the way it was now, but it was a lot lower. And I could see it was full of junk, but we can only get one car in our 2-car garage because we got junk, you know. A lot of people have junk like that. So Deborah Norwood at the end called me one night, or texted me. She texted me and said, Lee, I think that 1303 is going to be available tomorrow to buy. And I said, I texted, because I didn't see it till I got it. When I get home, I put my phone in the office, and I go to the house, and I don't hear it or see it until the next morning. And so I texted her the next morning. I said, call me when you get a chance, let me know about it. Well, she was a 94-year-old lady that was in here, did not have electricity in this house for a year. How she survived, I don't know. The niece would come and deliver groceries to the front door, and aunt would never let her in the house. Well, the niece didn't hear from her for about 10 days, and I don't know if she broke in the house or how she got, but she got in the house, saw the conditions, her aunt was passed out, got her in the hospital. They thought she was going to die the night that Deborah called me. Well, she made it through, they got her rehydrated, got her some food and stuff, and now she's in a nursing home. And she's pretty lucid. it's just physically she's not there, and she doesn't want some treatments that they'd like to do for her, and I won't go into all that, but, so, there again, networking, my customer knew this person and got me together. It took about 3 months for the deal to come together, because I told Deborah, I'm very interested. The picture you see here was about day 3 or 4 after they've been taking stuff out of the house. So it was a lot worse than what you see there. I saw the dumpster going in and out, and I just kind of, as I was leaving one day, just said, hey, they were out smoking, and I said, do you mind if I go and take pictures? I've never told the owner, and I came in and took all these pictures, so we're taking these pictures down as soon as this is over. But Deborah said that she was, the niece was a little embarrassed, and you know, I'm not here to embarrass everybody, but for us, we all want to all benefit from all of our experiences. So, you know, if Thomas has something that he's got going on, I've gone over and looked at other houses that people were looking to buy, just so I could get the experience of looking and seeing and stuff. So anyways, the niece called me up. Should have closed in about 3 or 4 days, and that was a month ago. All we needed is a title. The deal itself was, there's cats out here. The owner was really concerned about our cats. So we feed the cats as long as we own the house. Deborah is a cat lady, and we're trying to get them morphed down to her place while we're fixing it up, so that when the new owners buy it, they don't have them hauled off. In the garage, if y'all go out where the hot water heater is, there's a hole there. Steve, Robin, I, and Michelle were here Thursday, and we met the cat that lives in that hole. He's a big cat. And I told Loree that I met the cat, and said, "Oh, that's not our cat." so it's a cat, but it's not even their cat. So the deal is, we feed the cats. I gave her a $10, what do you call it? Not option fee, when you're holding a house. On contract. Earnest money, yeah. $10. The contract itself, we offered her 2 different contracts. One was for $150,000, and we got loans and everything and did our own financing. We could give them $165,000, and they carry the note until we fix up the house and sell it. And the selling part was important in that, because I didn't want to, you know, be on a 6-month thing, and then we can't sell it for another 3 months, and then we have to come up with some money. So it's until it actually sells. And they took the $165 option. And one of the ways that I came in when we were actually going to do it on the way over here, I told Steve, I said, I want you to talk because you're more articulate than I am. I get too excited, I don't speak well sometimes. He said, well, I'll get us started, but then I want you to do the deal. He said that you do these crazy deals, and I usually do just regular financing. So I said, okay. So she and I were standing here, and he said, okay, you two talk to each other. He put the deal here. As I'm standing here, I'm watching Steve walk through the house, and I know what Steve's doing. He's thinking, okay, I'm going to tear this up. This needs to be done here. And that's what he was doing the whole time. I was thinking in my back of mind while I'm talking to her, you know. Yeah, he's having fun while I'm having fun over here, you know. So then I tell her, and one of the ways I got her to think about this is that we don't need a survey. But if we have to get a loan, we're going to have to get a survey. So that's a waste of money. It's not going to benefit her. It's not going to benefit us. We don't need an inspection. We know them. It needs to be remodeled, right? Restored. So that's not going to benefit her or us. And I just told her quite a few other prices and things that were going to need to be done that are not going to benefit anyone. And so she could see the common sense that we would pay an extra $15,000. I also broke it down that if it took a year to sell a house, what $15,000 is on 65, an extra $15,000, she'd be making 9% of her money. If it takes 9 months, it was like I think that was 20%. If it takes 6 months, it was gonna be like 18%. No, it was going up. So it was, anyways, if we could have done it, and I told her, it's very unlikely we would do it in 3 or 4 months. It would probably take 6 months. And at 6 months, I think she's gonna make 20% on her money.
And she's carrying it at 4%, right?
At 0%.
0%, okay, it was 4 over here.
Yeah.
Talking one time.
Now, I always try to do 0. It's just like the $10. I could have probably done it without any earnest money, but I just want to see if I can get it for $10. I like doing that when I do deals. Someone somewhere told me that $10, that you got to put something into the deal to make it happen. It can be your labor, so just making the thing happen, it could be that, but I'd rather be able to go into court and say, no, I gave her $10. It's physical money. There's no argument if I give her $10. And usually you don't give it to the owner, you give it to the abstract company. What happens if I lose $10? Who cares, you know? So I did give it to her. And so we've got until we sell the house for the loan. We don't have to worry about making bank payments or anything. There's no payments until it's due, until we sell. And we close all the money that we do. So our cost is going to be the actual expenses of the house. Any questions up to this point? Yes.
Who wrote up that contract?
I did. Steve said that he thought maybe I had a contract. What was his name? Johanny had a guy. Did you know Johanny?
I knew him, but not through the group.
Okay. Nobody else here been here long enough. There was 3 guys. Sergio still comes, and Rios comes every once in a while. And those 3 guys were in charge. There's a guy that's worked for Johanny, and he did a bunch of flips and stuff. And he gave me his contract one time. It's a 3 or 4 page contract. So I went through all the different contracts that I had, and that was the shortest one. It looked like, since he does it in Midland, Odessa, Johanny's a doctor, so he most likely had a lawyer write it up. So I wrote it up on that. I told the niece, I said, when we take this to the title company, they'll redo it on their contract. They never liked anybody else's contract but theirs, and they used the Texas Real Estate Board contract. So they did, they rewrote it, we had to go re-sign everything. But even on my contract, once I had the contract, I got the deal. If they didn't want to sign on the new contract, that the abstract, it didn't matter, I still had a contract. And so that's the main thing, you want to make sure they're down on that. And I mean, she really appreciates that we're going to fix it up for her, because she had this cleaned out before we got it, and that just caused her all sorts of kind of, and I would just let the guys do it. Heck with it, you know. I'm doing okay. But it just really frustrated her. So she's glad she didn't have to do any of this stuff. Any other questions?
Yeah.
Yes.
How do you guys determine to buy, like the buying prices?
Speak up a little hard.
How to determine purchase price?
Purchase price, right? Why 150?
165. You said 184 or 170?
The way I always get the price is you gotta work backwards. You know, you get your ARV, do the best you can as far as costs and things like that, then start working back with all your expenses that you anticipate, how much margin you wanna get, what dollar figure you feel comfortable with. And when I started running those numbers, I can talk about that a little bit more in a minute, but working backwards and the dollar figure that I think we were both comfortable with, the number came out about 184. And I ran it a couple times and I was always plus or minus a few $1,000s. But when we started seeing that the aunt who had the power of attorney was really not seeing much value in this property, we went down a little bit more from there and gave ourselves a little bit more margin or room for improvements, things of that nature. But you know, one of the things Lee and I were talking about, he thought we probably could have done it for even less. It's like, well, you know, you don't need to squeeze I personally am not where I have to squeeze every dollar out. I mean, I want to get as much as I can without ripping people off when I sleep well at night. And one of the things we talked about is that saying that, pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered. Because even if you can make a really great deal, if the pig, but later on, they can get upset and, it can kind of affect your reputation. But no, we've got pretty good margin on this, I think. I'll talk about that in a minute.
There's a book called Never Split the Difference. And he talks about the Ackerman technique. And I would have used it, but Steve said something that made me think that maybe he didn't want to go much lower than 184. And until we start talking later, normally I would go in, if 184 was it, I would start with 65% of that and offer that. And then you go from 65 to 75 to 85, and then 100%, so 100% would be 184. But then when you give your last and final offer, if you get up that high, then you don't give 184, you tell them 183, $795. Because they think, oh, this is really precise, this is their last offer, which it is your last offer, but it concretes it in their mind. And I would have used that, and but something that Steve had said just led me to believe that maybe it wasn't going to be something that we wanted to do on this deal, and so we didn't do that.
Question.
Yes.
So, how do you kind of settle the area? You consider the factor of the market right now as to how to stay.
Let's let Steve talk, because Steve's going to come up here as soon as I get finished here, and he's going to tell you all the numbers. Steve's a number guy. I mean, I've always said I would never do a fix and flip without Steve, because I'm not a number guy. I can put some numbers together for buying, fix and hold, and I do C and D markets, whereas Steve does B pluses, B. His are nicer homes than mine. Mine are not so nice, but I make mine the nicest in the neighborhood. And I can do those kind of numbers. I can't do what Steve does. I understand the techniques, and I get better because I'm around Steve from time to time. Again, using the network, right? Hang around the people you want to be like. What am I getting out of this deal? I have always wanted to do a deal with Steve. I think it'd just be fun. He tried to help me put a deal together 2 summers ago that my son and I were going to fix and flip during the summer, and it just never didn't work out. But I don't want to work on this house, but I'm going to have fun doing it because I'm going to learn so much. I know how to do tile, and I know how to do roof, and I know how to paint. That's all I know how to do. And so I would have loved to do something like this with my son. I'd have worked my tail off. It's just my goal with my son is not to embarrass myself and have him out working. So my goal here is to be partners with Steve and to do this house with him. I've always wanted to do a deal with him. I'm tracking my hours. Why do you think I would track my hours with him being my partner?
Because you get to put in more.
Huh?
You know what kind of effort it's going to take for a house like this in the future, especially when you have somebody experienced. So if it were me, I would be tracking it, because if I'm doing it with you, well, it may take 100 hours. If I'm doing it on my own, I may double that, because I don't have all your experience.
And it goes that way. You start it here, then your hours go down.
So what if Steve only works 50 and I'm working 100?
Can I cheat and say the answer?
What's that?
Can I cheat and say what your answer is?
No. He knows this shit. The reason I'm tracking my hours has nothing to do with Steve. It's so that when we're finished with the deal, I can tell you guys what I make per hour on the deal. Steve always tries for $75 an hour or 70, something like that. He's going up now. Okay, years ago it used to be 70, now it's 100. So that's the only reason I'm tracking my hours. My goal in this thing is to not let Steve outwork me, which I think he will, because I know Steve. He works like a dog, man. He always tells me he's lazy, and that's why he does rental properties, because he'll work for 3 months, and then for the next 30 years he doesn't have to work, and still. But he's the hardest working, lazy guy I know. So I want to make it so that I work hard enough that Steve wants to do another deal with me. we argued about whose house, this is in my name, but I was gonna put it in his name. And he said, no, you put it in your name, I don't wanna do all the paperwork and stuff. So, I've always told people that I would do, if I was in Hawaii and I needed to close a deal, and I had $100,000 in cash, I would send it to Steve and ask him to close the deal with me. I've known him since I was in Crestview Baptist Church as singles. Next month will be my 30th wedding anniversary, so I've known him all that time. I know that he's an honest guy, he'll do the right thing. We have a contract that we're gonna sign either today or tomorrow or something, because he's my contractor for this deal. And in the contract, it says he gets 50% of net proceeds. If MLR or Lee's Barbershop LLC, which is the company, if they can't complete the deal, he's to complete the deal, get it sold, and he can name his price of what's owed to him. So if we finish it together, he gets 50% net profit. If I die, get a heart attack, I want to make sure that, and in it says nobody can question what he asks. That's in the paperwork. Because I don't want my son, my wife, and I've told them all, you know, if I die or something, Steve can name his own price. Because Steve will do the right thing. You know, if I work 1 hour, then he's going to make all the money. If I work half of it, you know, then I might make 20% or something, whatever it is. He'll make sure that it's fair. You know? A bonus that I'm getting with this is I'm going to get to work with Robin. I didn't know that when we started this thing, and then it just happened to work out. So, okay, I'm not handing it over to Steve. Any more questions? Yes.
Is that really a bonus?
No.
Get out of here.
Go ahead, Steve.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
So, you said the lady got or someone told you about how this is coming up. Is she a realtor or how does she know this is? How does she know?
She's 5 houses down.
So how does she know this is gonna get sold? Like,
It's in the house, it's in the neighborhood. When that happened, that night, there was cops and ambulances all up and down the streets. And I didn't learn that from my customer. I've met all the neighbors here. Just tonight, we met the neighbor next door. I gave him a card, I said, we're gonna be remodeling over here. If anything is ever wrong, if we make too much noise, if there's trash in the neighborhood, give me a call, I'll take care of it. I don't want them calling the police, I don't want them doing the home association, call me. We're not gonna make any noise, but if we do, I don't want them calling anybody else, I'll take care of it. So, that's,
It is HOA here,
what's that?
HOA here.
Yeah, $100 every quarter, so it's really reasonable. And they've already sent a letter to the owner saying, you know, it didn't tell them what to do, it just said you gotta, obey the, HOA, thing, which part of it is you gotta have grass out there. So that was part of it. But they all knew that she was 94 years old, so they knew that
Yeah.
it wasn't gonna get, and I think there was actually liens on the HOA fees that they cleared up before we got involved in it,
So
so,
that's good.
yeah. Anyway, Steve.
Okay. Okay. First of all, it's nice to know you can be in business with the right people. Y'all know that, right? Because Lee and I are both in the mindset, I work with a couple other guys on some contract jobs and flipped houses with them before. And, you know, I personally and Lee as well are both the type of people we'd walk away from a deal before we'd screw each other over or have or ruin a relationship that we've had for 30 plus years. So that's good to know, because even if you work 1 hour and I worked 100, it's still 50-50 as far as I'm concerned. You found the deal, that's just the way I like to do business, and going forward, you know, that'll hopefully work out well for us. So overall, we talked a little bit about the numbers. The way we came about that number, again, was getting our ARV. Now this market, you know, it's softened up quite a bit, and working backwards. Now, one thing that has concerned me just recently is I drove this neighborhood going out the other day that direction, and there's a house for sale right over here, almost the same square footage, but it hadn't been updated, but I've seen the pictures, it looks like it's well kept. They've gone from $399 on August 20th to $339 right now. They've had 5 deductions in 2 months, and they're down to $339, $133 a square foot. So, you know, it kind of puts the pressure on. There's different ways to approach this. If it wasn't a deal where Lee and I were going to work together and do a house like any of y'all that saw the Valley House or somebody's standalone house that we did, This could almost be one of those situations where you do come in and just really give it a good cleaning and freshen up some things, Febreze, vinegar water on the floor, get the smell out, and just turn it for 240. You know, I mean, you could pop out 40, 50 on this thing pretty quick, but that's not the objective this time for us. The numbers, when Lee and I were talking about that 184, one of the things I was considering that 184 is doing a hard money loan, getting your 2 points in, your 10%, your carrying cost, your, you know, all that type stuff. So we didn't have to deal with that, and we still got the 165. So, you know, we popped an extra, you know, that's good for what, 15, 20 grand over the course of 6, 8, 10 months. So this is really, could be potentially a pretty fat deal. Overall, numbers-wise, whenever I'm looking at a house to flip, there's two things I always look at that are my big X factor things, and that's the roof and HVAC. I know I'm gonna do floors, I know I'm gonna do a kitchen, I know I'm gonna do bathrooms, I know I'm gonna do paint, and, you know, all those type things. But the roof can easily be a minimum, maybe 6 grand, could be this type of roof. It's gonna have to be redecked, probably original shaker roof. You know, it could be, if we went to Nicholas Roofing or just some bigger contractor, this could be $25,000, $30,000 roof. HVAC for 2,800 square feet, because we're gonna enclose this into a sunroom. You know, that could be 15 grand. So right there, those two things could potentially be 40 grand before we start. You know, so I do have somebody I work with that has some friends that do some roofing work, and they've done 3 or 4 for me, so I'll be able to get it at a discount, maybe as much as 60 cents on the dollar. Where you always want to look at ways to upvalue your property, and the biggest thing is, even at 133 a square foot, when we were looking at the comps in this area, they were surprisingly low to me. But of course, my point of reference is 6 months ago. You know, things have changed really quite a bit. So a lot of the comps were showing that this might be, even after it's fixed up, maybe a 140 a square foot house. I'm like, that is crazy, because of y'all did anybody ever see the Stanley house? Did you ever see the Stanley house over there off of Ward Street?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, see that? Did anybody? Robin, you did. Well, we sold that one 2 years ago, October, 2 years ago, 168 a square foot, okay? And it was in a pretty good areas, kind of by Neely and Ward, if you know that area. Not as nice as this area, but 168 a square foot, and we didn't do as much as I've done to some houses before. So, you know, I started looking at this one saying, man, it's a pretty good neighborhood, even with a downturn. I'm thinking we could be looking at 150 a square foot. Now I see these comps, so I'm like, well, let's base it on my ARV at 140 a square foot. Now, 140 a square foot at 2601 comes to, I don't know think about that part. But I did run the numbers, but this out here is going to be about 240 square feet, okay? So permitting that and running a little bit of electric, running one wall, a door, that's going to be a $5,000 add-on, and at $140 a square foot, it comes to like $37,000, okay? So that's major upsell, and we're not going to be overbuilding this neighborhood, because there's houses there at 3,000 square feet. So we're going to be at 28, 40 ballpark, and that should put our ARV at 140 at about 4 1/4. Okay. So originally we were talking about a 399, but that other one, even though they dropped their price at 133 and it hadn't been updated, you know, their bathrooms and kitchen all were original from the 80s. You know, they looked nice, but they weren't a remodel house.
And plus, Steve said the other day, they're probably in a hurry, because they're dropping in 2 months that much.
Like 5 times.
4 or 5 drops or something.
Yeah. Yeah, so it makes me think they must have to get out. Anyway, so let's do questions real quick that might spur something. I can just talk in general all day long.
So total repair cost, what are you looking at, and what's the,
I round up a lot. I mean, I don't want to get caught, because there's always going to be stuff that can get caught on. I did it again right before he came over, and I rounded up a lot, and it looked like about 115. Okay, minus carrying cost, minus labor. okay? That's pretty stinking fat. I mean, we have room for margin on that, okay? But our goal is to try to keep it around 80, okay? But again, 15 for HVAC, the roof is an unknown. The guys haven't been out here to give me a quote yet. I'm bracing myself for 25. I'm wanting to keep it under 18. So, and I think that we can probably do that, just based on experience from the previous guys. If you were to go in the attic on a sunny day, you could lay there on your back and look up and it's a starry night.
He's not kidding.
There's light coming through everywhere. So, but the good thing is, not a lot of real structural, you know, all the popcorn will go. After that, we'll kills it, retexture paint, and you know, unless there's some soft crumbly stuff, it shouldn't be that bad. Okay. Yes.
Outside of the roof, what other major changes within the house are you making?
Major changes?
Yeah, like the bathrooms,
Bathroom's gonna be
kitchen.
huge. Kitchen, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, well, everything is gonna be down to sheetrock.
Yeah.
Okay. Bathrooms, kitchen, the whole bit. We want that wall to go. There's, yeah, but there's issues. I've probably taken out 6, 7 walls before, and they've never been a huge problem. One of them was a big one. It was a 28-foot long beam. It was like this big and this wide. It took 6 of us to get up in the attic. Because I always cut joists. I don't like them going below grade. I like them to be up in the attic. You cut the joist hanger and you put the joist hangers on and tie in and all that stuff. The thing about this is whenever you have the slope down like this, you know every wall in here is bearing a load. So, which means that's bearing a load and that corner is bearing a load. That being the case, how are you going to do an open concept? Unless you put a beam from here all the way to that wall over there, and then you put joist hanger and do a beam across there into that. That would be about a 30-foot beam. Okay? So, we're still toying with some ideas. My thought is to do open concept, but take it out and have the island's probably be 8 or 9 feet wide, post on either side of it going up, maybe a cedar type beam, but then on the post on either side, go in the attic on those areas. Okay, so I'll only have about a 6 or 7 foot beam there and about a 14-foot beam there. A lot more, I feel a lot more comfortable doing that than a 30-foot beam. 30-foot beams, I mean, you're talking, you better have your architectural loads down. So, that'll be, yes, we would do that. In this little, between the laundry room and the bathroom, there's some space for a stand-up freezer in the laundry room. There's a oversized linen cabinet in there. We'll probably wall those off and open up that area right there and make it a small walk-in pantry. The bathroom back there has this big, huge, nice soaker tub that nobody would ever use. And it just sits there, it looks pretty. We have one in our house, it's never seen water. And it takes, 45 minutes to fill that thing up. By the time you did it, the water was cold. But anyway, but then it's got this itty bitty little cubby hole shower about this size. Y'all see those? Why do they do that? I mean, that's, and then little drop ceiling, you feel like you're walking into, I don't know, just a little cubby hole. So what we're thinking we'll probably do is take out the tub, do a barrel vaulted ceiling with a walk-in shower where that tub is, and in the corner where that shower is, yank it out, do a freestanding tub corner to corner, and do a towel wrap around on that side, and then maybe a big floating vanity or something like that. Jack and Jill bathroom just going to be all freshened up, new vanity, new tub, new towel, things like that.
What are you gonna do with the bar here and your tanks that are used there?
You don't like our Baby Bunch wet bar? Come on, man, in the 70s, this house was even built in 89, I can't believe they had a wet bar like that. It's glowing. It will probably be so that they're equal length side with the symmetry. Take this wall back over here, cabinets, bookshelves on both sides, bring this wall forward to this, where it's a 1 foot deep. On the back side of this is a linen closet back there. We'll make a matching one on the back side of this one in that hall. Courtesy of So, and it'll kind of be more symmetrical. We'll probably take the hearth out, make it one straight down with a nice gas insert, a little bit more modern, whether we do a stack stone on there or a tile. We haven't really got that far yet.
Question. So the lady's carrying the loan on the, she's carrying the loan on the mortgage till the asset. So, well, how about the funding for the repair? Are you guys even have money, or is it just straight from?
No, I've sold 2 houses in the last few months that I had. So I've got some in the bank. Lee has a business line of credit. Really, we haven't got too hung up on that. I mean, you probably should. If you don't have a better, the right relationship with the person you're about to jump in business with, you better have that stuff down on paper. Money can do funny things to people. Even if you think you're really pretty good friends. I mean, I don't think that's the case with us. I feel sure both of us feel that way. We'll probably both take care of it at different times.
So that brings my other question. So, that's another true value of your profit out there. Are you gonna put some kind of interest rate on the value of your money that you put into it?
I don't know, we haven't really talked about it, but I think that if, like for example, I don't know, but if Lee has a business line of credit that just sits there and it's not being used, and he were to take out money for the roof, and it had to carry over a couple months with interest, to me, that's cost of doing business. If it was $112 in interest every month, that goes on a spreadsheet. I mean, that's just cost of doing business.
My philosophy of money is really different than most of your own. I'm not motivated by money at all. It does not motivate. I like games. I like being in competition. I'm never in competition with anybody else. I'm always in competition with myself. I like to beat my last record. I haven't spent any of the money. I got out of real estate in 2002, got back in 2013, and I haven't spent any of the money that my real estate's generated since then, and don't intend to for another 5-10 years. So I have some money saved up, and all this money will go back into that business, and you guys, we're so lucky to be in America. I mean, look around the world and see people, and just be thankful for what you got. I've got a family. I'm not being shot at. You guys weren't blown up coming here. You got wonderful relationships with your neighbors. They're not trying to kill you. We're just so lucky, and I feel so lucky. But he said if he was born 100 years ago, he'd been somebody's dinner or something. He doesn't have the body for surviving in the wilderness. And he's got a brain. And if he was born anywhere else besides the United States, he'd have been an orphan or a bum, because he's just got brains. And in the United States, he can use that brains and become the richest man in the world. But anywhere else, he couldn't. So money doesn't work. Just like me. Do I want to have this popcorn ceiling hit me on the head? No. But I want to work with Steve. That's going to be so much fun. And Robin, I don't know, like you said. But, your friends, be around people. That's what life's all about. Your goals, and I tell people all the time, your goals is not what's going to excite you. It's the journey getting there. Selling this house, we'll be excited when we get that paycheck. But it's this whole process going to it. I've had so much fun so far making the deal and talk. This lady's a cat lady. I'm a cat guy and a dog guy. So we talk cats and dogs cats all the time. So, enjoy your life. Enjoy what you've got that God's given you and your opportunities here. And don't be lazy.
See, that would be our only point of contention. I'd trap those cats out of here tomorrow. I've had to deal with cats more than once.
Steve's learned from other people's experience. Steve is the reason I don't let cats in my rentals. He told me that one day he went to a guy that he went like the week before he moved out, things were great, and then he went the week after he moved out, and evidently the guy got busy and didn't clean the kitty litter box, and he sprayed the whole everything was stinking with
It's
cat
like
pee.
2 weeks.
And it had scrubbed for a week
in the
with
house.
that out there. And I don't want, I'm lazy like Steve, I don't want to be scrubbed with cat pee, so at that point, I put in my lease, no cats.
And you don't want to be on hands and knees with a fingernail brush going over grout lines, I can guarantee it. So, anyway, cats and smell can be terrible. So, anyway. Yeah, kind of gone nose blind, right? No, I like cats all right, I just don't know my properties. When it's business, you know, and it really could affect things potentially. But it's not that big a deal right now. I mean, as time gets closer, then we'll make arrangements for them, and that's fine. I'm not gonna throw them in the lake kitties or anything like that. But anyway, any other questions?
So when you see water damage like this, and you've been up the attic, you see the holes, does that ever concern you as far as electric goes?
No, the thing that concerns me there's only one thing that concerns me about electric in this house is that it was mouse infested. Okay? They'll chew on those lines, they'll chew on those wires, and that's between the walls. Things between the walls, I mean, it's just unknowns. I mean, we can't really, well, we could, but we're not gonna realistically say, well, there are mice in here, they could have chewed the lines, so let's tear out every piece of sheetrock in this whole house. I mean, so there's a little bit of a crapshoot on that thing. You know, we'll be turning on our breakers, I'll get my multimeter and I'll meter things out, and I'll do they'll check things out, but I've had issues with electric before, I've gotten shocked.
Will your meter show that if there's exposed?
It could show some things, I would only do that if I have questions or suspicions on some things. More than likely, no, it wouldn't, it would show, all you'd be getting is opens. Maybe not, something that's not showing ground, or your neutral wire's not going, just something like that. And then we might have to start looking stuff up, potentially. I'm just going on the assumption that right now that we're gonna be okay, and we don't know, like Lee said, that there was no water in this house, or no electricity for a year. I mean, who knows? I mean, right now, I'm not seeing water run in this house. Who knows? That's one of the things, when you get into this and do a as-is type kind of deal, negotiate a deal down, you can't go in there and start picking them apart then. I mean, you can bring up some things, because you can try to negotiate your price down, but you're not gonna go in there and like, well, now I need a home inspection, and nitpick every little thing. There are people that will, but in the meantime, you're not gonna get your deal closed. And one of the good things, if you do a lot of work yourself, you can get around all of that. If I do find something, sure it's gonna stink, but, I can tear out the sheetrock and have this whole thing rewired and re-rocked again in 4 days. It's just cost of doing business. Sometimes you get little things that come up. I'm not worried about the electric. Haven't told Lee, but back in my mind, the plumbing and some of the water situation.
Oh, no, you should have told me.
It kind of makes me wonder, has there not been water going through these lines in a year? I don't know. We'll find all those things out pretty quick. And a lot of there's not much more jackhammering than we have to. I mean, we'll have to jackhammer in this master bathroom because we're gonna relocate some plumbing, but I won't have to do a main. But I've done a main before. I mean, we pulled PEX from the meter, pulled a 3/4 inch PEX, I got all the PEX tools, put a manifold in, dropped PEX throughout the house. PEX is cheap, easy to work with. So, it'll just be one of those setbacks and you deal with it.
You just run it up high?
Still want to insulate just for freezing, not for burst, but just for water flow. Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes.
So it kind of seems like this house kind of fell in you guys' life at the right place, right time. When you're looking to flip houses, what do you kind of look for in terms of like location, house,
Oh, there's,
outside of like Midland or within Midland itself?
it doesn't matter, and there's always a right place and the right time, you just
Yeah.
gotta find it.
Okay.
And you gotta be ready to move, which means you better know your numbers, you better know your ARVs, you better know your comps within, I'm looking Permian State 79703, and I know the market well enough. I know that my ARV is gonna probably be about 120, 125 square foot in that area, maybe higher if it's a smaller home. Smaller home gets higher dollars per square foot. A humongous house is gonna get lower dollars per square foot. You just gotta know some of those things, so that when the opportunity does come up, you know your numbers, you can run them pretty fast. And like Lee said, I am a numbers person. I don't know why, they just stick in my head. I mean, I know my wife's driver's license number. I mean, numbers just stick in my head, so I'm a numbers guy. So when I do see a deal, I know I can run, just real quickly do that, and I've done enough contract work and home flips to know roughly what kind of dollars I'm looking at. And, you know, what I usually see is you'll be anywhere between $20 and $30 a square foot, depending on finishes, depending on how elaborate you go. But the location, no, if it's in a part of, I'm not gonna name a part of town, but you can pick your own, you have your own thing in mind where you know it's not a part of town, it's like, well, that's not really as good a part of town. Well, it may not be, but what's the ARV in that part of town? Is that part of town, ARV is gonna be $110 a square foot for fixed up house? It's the same thing. Is it a $200 area? Is it a $100 area? If it's a $200 area and you get it for 110, bingo. If it's a $100 area, you're looking at 110, well, done. You know, there's still people that were looking for $150,000 houses. There's still people that would love to have a $130,000 house that maybe wasn't granite and hardwood floors and crystal this and, but they just had good spec house type finishes. You know, it really doesn't matter.
And they always say like, you get the crappiest house in the nicest neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one thing that I kind of like is if you could, yeah, no, one thing I like to do personally is I like to look for opportunities to add square footage. You know, if you could add square footage without having to do plumbing, man, you're really good. I mean, even the house we just moved out of that we lived in for 20 plus years, it was 1,300 something square feet. My wife owned it when she was single, you know, and bought it. We added 600 square feet. She bought it for 49. We just sold it for 260, and we kind of got screwed because of this market. But still, we didn't have any plumbing back there, so, you know, really, with the exception of a slab, 2 floors of sheetrock, paint, texture, baseboards, that's cheap. That's cheap. I mean, that's pretty easy. That's a pretty easy deal.
How'd you get your comps? Did you use a realtor or?
Well,
Zillow,
actually, one of the guys that's a member of the Reia Club, but he doesn't come real frequently. I don't know if y'all know Ralph Madrano, any of y'all, but I do comps a lot myself, but Ralph did pull them for us. And networking, right. And Ralph has shown me properties over the years, and we've talked quite a bit over the years on trying to find some
when
deals.
you do them yourself, you just use Zillow or just?
Actually,
just
I do. It's not a perfect science, but you know, you can go on there and hit sold
Yeah.
and pick an area and pick within the last 6 months. It doesn't show every single thing, but it shows a pretty good amount.
Yeah.
And then I'll do the ones that are listed, and I'll print out the map within half a mile around it, and I'll print it out, and I'll sit there, and I'll click on each one, and I'll divide it out by square foot, and I'll put it beside each little dot. And that's list price, that's not a sell price, but it gets you in the ballpark.
Yeah.
And then I'll throw out the highest and throw out the lowest and an average and get a good median. And then you know that this house is not gonna be a median house when it's not done.
That's gonna be,
It's gonna be on the upper side.
Yeah.
But.
Gonna get premium for it.
Get you in the ballpark, and also, are we gonna look at a quick sale? Are we gonna look at holding it a little bit longer and trying to squeeze out a little bit more? Because it is 0%, it's, you know, we could also hold it a little bit longer if we needed to. But,
Can I add to that?
sure.
There's what I use is called REI Black Book, and it's like a monthly subscription deal, but you can list your properties on there, and it like blasts them out to like Zillow and Hot Pads and all that stuff, all just off of one software, you know, and it also does like where you can do your comps, and it's like based on, it's almost like you have access to MLS.
Okay. It's kind of like,
Without being
what's it,
built.
prop stream or whatever, right? Is it similar to that, I guess?
I've never heard of that one,
Oh.
but this is just the one that I always use,
What do you
REI.
call it, REI Black Book?
Yeah. Mhm.
So, another person to listen to, people that have done stuff, you know.
I don't know about that.
Oh, you got.
There you go.
There it is.
So what's the turnaround time for construction? What are you looking at?
20 minutes a square foot. I don't know. No, really, I do things like that because again, I'm a numbers geek. So I want to know, a lot of times I do that. I look at how many hours, I keep track of my hours too. And I'll look back on it and think, well, I spent this many hours and how many square feet. So roughly how many, because I always want to know going in if there's things I can refine in my own mind, give myself an idea. But honestly, I think it'll take about 700 hours.
So,
Seems to be
700 hours of your labor, or does that include like a roof and things you're gonna
now that won't include the roof or the HVAC, yeah, our labor.
contract?
If I was doing it by myself, because I'm an 8 to 5 job, I'm a weekends and evenings guy, I'm trying to transition, but, get a few more rental properties and that'll probably happen, but, if I'm doing it myself, evenings and weekends, which is not necessarily a good gauge, because I get off work, I get over there at 5:30, you don't just walk in the door and all of a sudden you're working. I mean, especially if you're doing something like tile work. I mean, you gotta set up your tile saw, get all the water buckets out, get your, there's set up and breakdown, and then you gotta clean your junk up. So if I'm able to get over at 5 o'clock and I like to quit so I can be at home at a somewhat reasonable hour, quit at 8 or 8:30, I think you're talking about 45 minutes is wasted every day. Which if I was working a 10-hour day, it's only 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes in the evening. But when it's a 3-hour day and it's 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes in the evening, it's a lot bigger percentage. But I do factor that in, and I've done houses pretty much by myself, with maybe a little bit of help from my son. Robin actually helped me a little bit on the Valley House, and it seems like I hit around that 600 or 700 hours. I've been as low as 400, been as high as maybe 800. Bigger house, 3,000 square feet or something like that.
How much of the work are you doing yourself?
We're gonna be doing pretty much I always do all my work. The only thing I don't do roofs anymore, because that's freaking hard work. I don't mind doing roofs, I just don't want to carry those stinking bundles up onto the roof. I don't lay slabs, big slabs. I don't do HVAC.
Pretty much everything else you do.
Everything.
Wow.
Yeah.
And did you learn it yourself? You just learn how to do it yourself through experience?
Yeah, learn.
That's what I'm doing.
I was stupid before I started. I was even before I was wise. I mean, I bought my first. I first learned with a single and 28 or something, and a buddy of mine bought a house, and so we experimented. We built some things, and then later on, I got married, and I experimented on our house a little bit. You buy your lab. I bought my lab. I mean, we moved in. I did some things. Then I had an opportunity to buy a house from one of my employees' mother had passed away. There were 4 siblings, and they couldn't all agree on it. So I bought that house on a credit card check, $12,000, 2001. It's not like it's yesterday. But bought it for $12,000 and flipped it. Looking back, it's like, oh, you were so ignorant. And it was. But at the end of the day, from start to finish, it was close to a year. At the end of the day, we made about $13,000. Bought it for 12. Ended up selling it for 42, I think. And looking back, it's like, that was not good. But made a lot of mistakes, learned a lot, mostly the hard way, and made $13,000. If I'd have learned that much going to school, I'd have paid them $13,000. Then they just said, well, here it is on paper, now you learn, now don't do it. But, sometimes you gotta just jump in. If you wait for a perfect opportunity, it's just not gonna happen. You know, I've told anybody, I know you've heard me, Robin's heard me, there's a verse in the Bible that says, he who watches the wind will not plant, he who watches the clouds will not sow. You know, basically, if you're waiting for perfect opportunity before you do anything, you're never gonna get anything done. Sometimes you gotta be willing to make some mistakes. And there's two types of people, whichever one you are, one's not right, one's not wrong. But me personally, when you look back on your life, there's people who would rather not live with mistakes, and there's people who would rather not live with regrets. Neither one is wrong. If you don't want to live with mistakes, because you're just that's fine. I'm the type of person I'd rather not live with regrets. So, you know, have I screwed up? Yeah, I screwed up. But honestly, the first time I've ever lost money was this year, and it was extenuating circumstances. Got in with a family member. I'm on their word on something in a house in Lubbock. Lost about 55 on that one. Yeah, that was a pretty serious hit on that one. Yeah.
So when you look at a house like this, what do you do with the bedroom? Like, how do you choose the flooring in a house like this? Like, do you always put carpet in the bedrooms? Do you always put the wood on the floor? Or? I
haven't put carpet in the bedroom in a while because people are not going that way. I watch those shows all the time. You know, I'm the HGTV DIY junkie guy. Whatever's popular on TV, that's what people want. I mean, people are lemmings, you know that. You know, I mean, whatever's popular, that's what they want. Most people want hardwoods even in bedrooms, and they can put a big area rug if they want to soften it. I'll do that. I'll do lots of grays and whites. Don't necessarily care for that myself, but everything is gray and white right now. That's what you see. Are y'all familiar with the website Houzz, H-O-U-Z-Z? Some of y'all probably are. I got on their email list once upon a time. They send out emails probably 4 or 5 times a week, and a lot of the emails may be like the 10 most popular kitchens today. So I might click on it and look through the pictures, just kind of stay on trend a little bit, and don't be taste specific. There's things I do in houses that I wouldn't buy. I mean, they look nice, but what you will find is that most of the time, people don't really know what they want. You see those shows, I guarantee you, Chip and Joanna Gaines go in and do a house, or any of them, they walk in and like, oh, that's great, that's just what we always wanted. But they could have seen 10 different designs, but it said the same thing. They look for people want something that was done with purpose, all put together properly, good design plan, and fulfilled right. Most of the time, it could be different things, but I don't know, people don't want white shaper cabinets anymore. I like the earth tones myself. I like the rich stones and wood and things like that. I wouldn't want a white kitchen cabinet personally, but everybody does. I'm appealing to the masses. If I have a house that's fantastic, but only 2% of people like that style, I'm not doing that. Appeal to the masses as best you can. You good? Any others, quickly?
Where can we find market value? Where's a good place to find the market value of properties?
Through the comps, just looking at what I'm seeing. And it's, market value, and most of y'all will know this, there is only one number you ever need to worry about. It's just the number. How much per square foot? That's the number. You don't want, well, I got it for $200,000. Is that a good deal? I don't know. How big is it? It's how much per square foot. That's the only number. This one is 26. You got your calculator out there, Robin? What's 2601 divided by 165,000? Or 165,000 divided by 2601?
How much you said? 165 or what?
Divided by 2601.
63.
$63 a square foot. That's good.
Sweet.
That'd be good in any market, in any part of Midland, that would be a good deal. Depending on what finishes you do.
Would this deal be still appealing to you if you had somebody else do the work?
My body would say yes. It's pretty hard work, you know, it can be pretty hard work. You know, laying wood floor is not that hard, but if I was tiling this whole house, that's hard work. But I personally, I like working. I sit at a desk most of the day. It's nice to get out and actually do something. And I also appreciate, I've always enjoyed going in and seeing the before and the after and saying, man, look what we did.
We're gonna have that here, because I took a bunch of 360 pictures all over the house, so.
Yeah, Robin does a Matterport, so he's taking all these pictures and such. But I want to get more to where I can have contractors do more work, but you know, they're making their money. There are times when I have bought a house and I knew when I bought it that I was just buying myself a really expensive contract job. I mean, I was buying myself a good job. If somebody else had that job, had that house and wanted it fixed up, I would have made about the same amount of money. And sometimes that's, in effect, sometimes that's all you're doing on a flip house. You're going in and finding a house that's built in 1956 and has never been upgraded and has pink tile and avocado appliances. And you're going in there and you're getting, because that house has never been updated. You're buying it and doing the updates and making the, you know, the paycheck. But, you know, you could be doing it as a contract job too. I mean, sometimes you're, in effect, almost buying yourself an expensive contract job. Unless you can really negotiate a good deal. I think this is one of those deals. I've had 2 or 3 that were better than a contract job. And I was able to hire some work done and still make 60 on it, you know. So.
The black guy that's standing here, his name's Ralph, and he does all contract. He doesn't do any work himself. When we went on tours of homes, the very last thing, he invited us over to a place he had just done, $1 million home. And it was gorgeous. But, so if you're interested in not doing the labor yourself, then talk to Ralph. He's at most meetings. He'd be the one to talk to.
Yeah, really, if you want to scale your business, at a time, you're going to have to start getting some good contract people lined out. You're going to have to get a crew. And I've had some people that have worked for me that way before, but unless you can keep them busy 40 hours a week, you know, they got to eat. They got to go somewhere. They got to work. So you better be all in if you're going to start doing people like that and get the better price points on your contract labor. Because if you just go out today and try to find a contractor, you're not going to get those. You're not going to get those relationship points or discounts or those deals, knowing that you have another house waiting for him as soon as he finishes this one. You know, all these things when you watch Tarek and Christina or whatever that flip or flop, and they say, "Oh, we can do this house for $43,000." More power to you. I wouldn't do it for $43,000 if you call me as your contractor. You know, I'm going to make some money. You know, my target's $100 a square foot. You know, it doesn't always work out that way, but you know, if I make $50 a square foot and I was doing it 40 hours a week, that's equivalent to $100,000 a year income. So, you know, I just have a hard time paying somebody to do something I know I can do myself unless I just have too much going on.
Anything else? Well, thank you all for coming. I kind of envisioned this kind of information coming, and I knew you all wouldn't get this in a normal Reia group. The networking part, I think, is a very important thing, and I try to impress upon you all tonight about networking, because it really is like Ralph. I know Ralph, you know. The other Ralph that we got the comps from, Steve, I think he said that he didn't go through very many of the comps. I went through almost all of them. I spent like 3 or 4 hours. I was up till like 1 o'clock in the morning that morning. And I was just fascinated because Steve told me how he does his stuff. So I understand the concept. I just don't do it very much. And when he sent me that stuff, I mean, there were $1 million homes in there. And of course, I could just cut those out because this is a really rich neighborhood and connected to some of the richest homes in Midland, right over in this area. And he sent me everything that had sold within a half mile. It was like 40, 50, 60 homes or something. And so I was having fun doing it because it was pretty neat. But I knew he did all square footage and stuff. So I would look at where it was, total price, you know, if it was way up, then I kicked it out. I looked at the pictures to make sure it was something that, you know, was comparable to what we were gonna sell this one at. If it looked like this right now, then I knew it wasn't a good comp. So anyways, if you are new to the group, or I haven't gotten your picture, then please would you have Robin take your picture tonight so I can put you in my phone. I have a little bit of face blindness and it's really hard. That's why every time I see him, I don't know him until he speaks, because my audio is better than my visual, and he keeps changing his face, and I have enough problems in the first.
You make it sound like I get like Botox implants.
My best friend, I literally had him living with me for a year when I was single, and I hadn't seen him in a year or two, and my boy was graduating, and I saw him across the room talking to my boy. I went over and introduced myself. I didn't know who he was. No, literally, until he talked, and then he thought I was kidding. I just laughed it off. But I wasn't kidding. I didn't know who he was. And he hadn't changed a bit. It's just my visual was not that good. So that would really help me out if y'all could do that for me. And Robin, when you get them, if you can write down name down in order of the pictures, and that way I can match them up when I get home. And this will be on YouTube, so if you got here late and you want to hear the earlier stuff, it'll take me maybe a week, maybe this weekend I'll get it. Tuesday meeting is going to go up on the YouTube channel. It's already up there and loaded. All I got to do is make it public. And I forgot to do that earlier today because I was busy getting ready for this and some other stuff. Y'all can hang around and talk to each other, get to know each other. This is probably the last in-person thing that we're going to have for the year, and I don't know what next year is going to bring. Kelly Williams, I did talk to them earlier. I was talking to this receptionist, and again, I just called her up to say hi. She's a really neat lady, and I was going to encourage her to get into real estate because she was just the receptionist, and she said she's moving up into management. And so we talked for a little bit, and she said, well, if y'all want to come back and have meetings here, we're having meetings. So we may go ahead and start meeting in Midland. I don't want to do it in Odessa because when we meet in Midland, we usually have about 20 people, and in that big room at Kelly Williams, it's a huge room, and I think we can do it safely. We usually fill up Jason Deli's in Odessa. I mean, we have 30 to 40 people show up, which is great. But there again, I want to be safe for everybody. I have a 91-year-old mother-in-law. I think I would probably live through it. I'm not sure my wife, I mean, she's got some health stuff. I'm not sure she would live through it, and my mother-in-law definitely would not live through it if I gave it to her. So that's why the mask. I appreciate y'all cooperating. I was in the Army. The Army fights a common enemy, and I think right now our common enemy is this stupid virus. If we all did this all the time, the people that aren't working because they're in restaurants and stuff, they could be working, making money. And so, as Americans, we should, soapbox, right? But as Americans, we should fight this thing as a group and do everything we can for the people that aren't working, that they can go and make a living. This is America. Let's do it together, you know? Okay. Sorry. So, go ahead. There you go.